Hello, my name is Andrea, and my project is called the Sentiment Trading Bot. Recently, I've realized that social media has become so powerful that it can even influence the stock market. Especially with Wall Street bets gaining more popularity, it made me wonder if the sentiment expressed in social media could be used to make more profitable investment decisions. A research study published in 1973 from the University of Princeton suggested that a group of blindfolded monkeys that would throw darts at the pages of a financial newspaper could come up with a portfolio that could match with portfolios of expert analysts. The study found that not only did the random portfolio created by the monkeys match the experts, but it actually performed better. The more I learned about the stock market, the more I learned that even the top analysts nowadays working in huge firms still struggle to match a random portfolio. The question I had was, would social media sentiment give me an edge over a random portfolio? So I decided to make a bot that would buy stocks solely on the sentiment it had on social media. I had only recently learned about the stock market and how it works, but I observed that the short term speculation doesn't have a positive effect in the world. Most people who are involved in short term speculation have no real social benefit and are only motivated by greed and just wanting to make a quick buck. This project, being open source and free, could allow nonprofits or charities to find a better way to invest their donations and put their profits to good use, like helping homeless people. In this project, I used two web services. The first was the Twitter API. This was my source of information for the social media aspect of the project. The second was a brokerage called Alpaca. I chose this API because they provided me with paper trading, which is a form of trading that uses fake money, which was really useful in the testing phase of the project. I wanted to measure the blind monkey idea against a social based monkey idea. So there's two steps to the project. First is to measure the sentiment about the candidate stocks on Twitter. This is done by the Twitter Analyzing Bot program, which reads the configuration file and the candidate tickers file. In the configuration file, settings like diversification or stop loss threshold can be configured. The candidate tickers file contains a stock symbols list. The Twitter Analyzing Bot receives a stream of tweets using the Twitter API and measures the sentiment for each tweet. As the tweets come in, the ticker scores file is updated with the latest information on the hype scores of all the stocks depending on the sentiment the tweet had. So if the tweet was negative, then the hype score is subtracted. But if the sentiment was positive, then the hype score is added. The next step is to run the investing bot, which also reads the configuration file and the ticker scores file, and then uses the Alpaca API to place orders based on the highest hype stocks listed in the ticker scores file. It is important to note that to avoid the most popular stocks always having the highest hype score, the bot divides the hype score by the amount of tweets about that stock. This way it can find the average. In this project, I use trailing stop losses because they maximize your profits while still having an exit plan in place. The trailing stop starts a certain percentage below the price you bought at, but if the stock price increases, then the trailing stop will increase proportionally. This lets the stock run while keeping an exit plan in place so that when the stock eventually goes below the threshold, it will sell and keep the profit. I've had lots of difficulties that I had to overcome while doing this project, but I think the biggest difficulty I had was working with web services. I had never previously used them, and I didn't understand their outputs. After doing lots of testing and experimenting with the examples given in the documentation, I finally started to understand how they work. I started with small API requests, but after some practice, I was able to stream tweets with the Twitter API and place orders with the Alpaca API. I also wanted to make the project open source, so I also needed to learn how to use Git and GitHub so that in the future I could take suggestions to improve the project. Over the last few months, I've had a lot of fun making this project. I've only completed the first version of the project recently, so I haven't had enough time to test it against the random portfolio. So if I had more time, I would probably spend most of that time testing the bot. I would also spend some time making the program more efficient and maybe adding different social-based strategies. I could also use a different social media platform to gather information, like maybe Facebook. Thank you for watching the video. All the code for the programs are in my GitHub repository at this URL. If you have any questions or contributions you'd like to make, I would be happy to answer them and work with anyone who wants to improve the project. So thank you, and I'll see anyone who's interested on GitHub.